It looks fine. We are live. Yay. Yay, yay.
Well, welcome everyone to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. But this is a special episode because it's not
Yes.
live. It's a pre-recording that we're going to do, and it's a different subject matter that we're going to discuss. So before we even dive into all of that, Dr. Bryant, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Dr. Nelva Bryant. And yes, as Greta said, today's going to be a little bit different. But to say who I am, sorry, I am a veterinarian and I work in the airline industry. I work with Delta Airlines. I brought on staff to review and revise the policies for animal transportation. And I love that role. My goal is to ensure animals, or my desire is to ensure all animals get to their destination safely. And working with Delta, I'm hoping that that's what we're doing. Today is a little bit different for us because I wanted to have this because fairly recently I lost my dog Naya, and she was my love. I had her for like 9.5 years. I got her because I had a break-in in my house and finally decided, you know what, it's time. Was putting off getting a dog, and said, okay, I need to get one. And I picked her from a litter because she was a sweetie. It was just something about her. I think deep down, she reminded me of myself. She was kind of, FYI, I'm actually a very shy person. I do this because I love sharing pet travel education, and I feel it's important, needed, and I feel it's also my purpose. But deep down at heart, I'm actually kind of a shy person. And I saw the shyness in her, and I just, something about her. So got her and had her for all those years. And like I said, it's been November 7th is when I had to have her put down because she had cancer of her liver. So we're having this episode to talk about pet grief, loss, and the counseling needed. The person we have sharing with us helped me with getting through this. And I'm not fully over it, but she did help me kind of see things a little bit differently. And I'm sorry, Greta, I went over. I didn't really go into introduce yourself because you're my right hand to everything I do at When Pets Fly. And I thank you for setting this up with Miss Lorena that's going to be coming on. And again, it's just something different, than our normal topics that we discuss. But I do think this is an important topic for any pet owner, to be honest with you. But please introduce yourself too, Greta.
Yes. So hello, everyone. My name is Greta Russo, and I work with Dr. Bryant on this journey in When Pets Fly. I have been enjoying all of the marketing and the different Facebook Lives that we've been doing, and actually following along in this journey and expanding our audience reach. So I think we're going on 3 years of doing Facebook Live, but the When Pets Fly has been around for 4 years. And it really has been developing and, changing as the needs approach. So, and I say changing in a good way because we're expanding our knowledge, we're expanding our reach, we're expanding our base. And it's just been such a fun journey to go along with. Today's episode about pet loss and pet grief and all of that. It's an important one. I don't think really I don't know, but there's not too many people out there talking about this. I don't think like on a live type of thing. I know there's lots of people in this sector. And unfortunately, you only reach out for that information when the time comes, if you do at all. But we all have experienced it, and it's so devastating. There's more people that understand it than before, but losing a pet, that is losing a family member, it is devastating. And depending on you as a person. However it takes you to handle grief. That's how you will handle your pet loss, and that is how long you will need to handle it. I know you mentioned that Naya was just recently laid to rest in November. And, I think people who follow me on Facebook, they know that my two babies, who were
Right.
brothers last year,
Right.
Hank, who was my favorite, he died in July. And that damn near destroyed me. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed for days. I was crying profusively. I had another cat, but because my connection to Hank was different, it just was heart wrenching. And then, I got better and could get back to doing my normal duties. And literally a couple months later, his brother, and they were bonded. So they were always two peas in a pod. And I've heard of this. I just wasn't expecting it. His brother Romeo died. And, I mean, quickly. And like, I honestly think Romeo was more of a broken heart than it was, being sick, because Hank was sick. And so I had to go through the grief again.
Yeah.
And I didn't think there was somebody you could talk to, but I'm so glad you found somebody. And that's what's so important about this, because we're going to introduce Lorena, who is a grief counselor, to everyone. I can't wait to talk to her more. And, I'm sorry you had to go through that experience.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
but
sorry. I'm sorry you did too. And I'm really happy we're having this session because yeah, you lost your babies and you lost your mom this past year too. So there's a lot
yeah,
that you
yeah,
lost um within this time frame and everything. And you
within
never know the
6
person
months.
to talk to. And the interesting thing too about it is um it's interesting because a lot of folks outside of say having a pet and having that bond with them will just say, hey, you'll get over it, or it's not they treat it as not significant. But when you have that bond with that pet, and they're everywhere, you do everything for them, and whenever you're sad or down, you can always get my Naya would give she wasn't a really licky dog, but she knew exactly when to lick me, and she'd give you a little sweet little lick. And you miss those little things, the special things about them and everything. And so you can't just easily just get over it and toss it off. You do need to talk to someone about it. So I'm glad we're doing this for us, and again, for the tapings, it's being taped. Maybe there's others also will realize that it's okay to grieve and everything. And Lorena's here to help us with that process. So let's bring her on out, please. I think she's going to be a big help.
Sure thing, sure thing. Let's see.
There we
We're
go.
adding
Hi there, lady.
Miss Lorena Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Lorena.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I think you're muted.
There you go. You're muted again. 1 minute. Hello? We can't hear you,
Yeah,
lady.
it's muted again.
Oh my goodness.
Do you want me to remove her and then bring her back in? Maybe it's
Why don't you
something
try
with
it again?
that.
Try it again.
Okay.
Take 2. Hopefully this will work. Please.
Let's see. Okay, so you're muted. So you want to unmute that.
There we go. Hello? Oh my goodness.
How about if you come in through your phone? You want to try your phone?
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll take her off while she does that. We were just talking about technology.
I swear, you just never know what it's going to do, how it's going to behave. you just never know. But you said recently there was a day where you couldn't stream or do anything well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we have some of those repercussions. StreamYard, come on, guys. Don't know what it is. We love you. We've been using you. We want you to continue working for us. But
yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
That's a lot.
Well, we'll keep going while she. Oh, there's her other one.
Let's remove.
Let's remove this one and bring up the other one.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, she should be off. Okay.
Because it might. We'll remove that one. There we go.
Yeah.
Hello.
We've got to get one of them off because we're going to have to.
Yep. Yeah. So hold on. For some reason, it won't let me. It allowed us to remove her before, but it won't. Okay, now we got her off. Let's bring.
Try add to that one to the stage. Hello.
There.
We're good.
Yes, we did it. Now you're gonna have to. There we go. I was gonna say.
Yeah, now it wasn't. Yeah, but it worked. We figured it out.
We got it. You know,
you're not the first one.
We go through this with technology. So happy you're here with us.
And this has happened before.
So happy you're here with us. So happy that LaShonda, God darn it, Gifford. LaShonda Gifford gave me your name and everything I was sharing with her regarding my loss of Naya. And she brought up you, and then we connected. And you, honestly, the day that we spoke was the day that I picked up Naya's ashes. And it was a couple of days after her being put down. And honestly, it was weird being in a household because it felt like it was empty. And it still feels empty now, but I feel a little bit better knowing I have her ashes and I have a beautiful painting someone did of her. And I feel better than I did beforehand and everything. So I want to thank you for at least taking the time to share with me. And I'm glad you're here because definitely Greta said she wasn't even aware that there was anyone to talk to in reference to this. So you're going to help us all. You're going to help everyone that listens to this that lost a pet over the years.
Well, let me do an introduction and then we'll roll right into things. So everyone, let me introduce you to Lorena Jefferson. She's a life coach as well as counselor, motivational speaker, and author with more than 3 decades of experience. She works with the most vulnerable individuals and is able to breathe life into them and help them see their worth and potential in this dark world. Lorena provides life coaching for the below specialties for ages 15 to 99 years old. Life coaching is available for self-pay only, as it is not a covered insurance service. Specializing in adolescents, adults, couples, families, and groups in the following areas: anxiety, depression, behavioral difficulties, low self-esteem, mental health challenges, parenting difficulties, relationship challenges, social difficulties, stress, and religious trauma. And I guess today we can add pet loss. Everyone, please help me welcome the fabulous Lorena Jefferson.
Thank you. It's so grateful to be here.
Thank you. Can't hear you that well.
So tell us about yourself.
Yes, please.
Well, I am the CEO of a company called Prestige Wellness Network. And so I was so excited to meet Dr. Bryant. And I was excited to meet her, not just because of the collaboration I felt like that we could make after talking to LaShonda, who is, we know, the connector of America, right? And so, excuse me, I have a cold. But after talking to you, Dr. Bryant, it was amazing, like the transparency. And one of the things that really grabbed my heart when I got introduced to the whole pet industry, I'm a pet mom myself, and I am so like crazy about my little multiple. Like, right? Um, always been a pet lover. And one of the things that I noticed about people who, excuse me, were not pet owners is a lack of empathy, you
Mhm.
know, when a pet would be lost. But those of us who really, really engage with our pets, the ones who we live with them day in and day out, those are not just pets, those are family members, right? And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
it was just excited to me because believe it or not, it's very hard to get pet parents who lose their pets to really be able to talk about it. For one thing, because of the pain, but more than anything, the stigma, right? There's a lot of stigma out here that they're just animals. What's wrong with you? They're not people. They're not, they don't have a soul. People have said all types of things to me. And I'm like, okay, and yet and still they seem to have more of a soul than most human beings, right? Yet and still they
Yeah.
seem to be more caring and more dedicated than a lot of experiences that we've had with human beings, and we're of a like kind. And so I wanted to bring a resource where it became the norm to be okay to grieve, no shame behind it, no stigmas behind it, where we understand that it's a love thing. It's a love thing. And so if it's a love thing, the lost thing is the same as if you loved, whether it
Mhm.
be your friend or your little furry friend, right? And so I've helped a lot of people through that because of the stigmas, because it's like we don't have permission, right? You don't have permission. Something's wrong with you. You're a crazy animal person. And all of these things are here, but I want to take away all that taboo. And I want people to understand that loss is loss.
Mhm.
And it's the same grieving process as anything else that was loved, because it's a heart issue. It's a relationship loss, and it's a heart issue. And so I'm so grateful for you guys having me on here and for us to be able to dialogue with that about that, because it's so popular to not have respect for people who are grieving their pets, to not give them the
Mhm.
time or the space or the grace to be able to process their losses. And so we want to make that okay. And we not only want to
Yeah.
make it okay, we want to offer resources where they can come to a safe place and be able to do that during the journey.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I gotta say the world is getting better, but there's still a lot of people that can say they don't. I don't think they mean to, but they don't think before they say anything when they find out you lost a pet, and it can be very rude. But I know the world is getting better because companies are providing, in addition to time off for parents, spouse, sibling. Now they're having pet loss time off. So the world is changing to be inclusive of pets, and that's a good thing. But you were starting to get into, which was a great segue into our next question. So, pet loss is often dismissed as a minor grief, as you mentioned, compared to losing a human loved one. How do you help people navigate and validate their feelings of pet loss?
Um, I've created some materials. This year, actually, I decided I wanted to do a little bit more, especially because it's so difficult to like navigate through the whole thing. I totally go through the same stages of grief that I would go through with someone losing someone. But I created some materials and I created a book where you can create memories while you're with your loved one, while you're with them, taking photos when they do silly things, noting those things, giving you ways to have like ways to focus on the positives when you have those moments where you just want to go through memory lane, just like you would an album, for a photo album or whatever. So I created a book for pet parents that they can get now. In that book, they can literally record day by day activities, little quirky things that their baby does, little things that made you laugh, those off the wall photos when they're on their back rolling around, whatever it is. And so
Yeah.
what you do is you save those, and you save the moments, and you save the thoughts that you had in the moment. And so that's a great resource to go back once, the pet transitions. And then you have those really, really down moments like you described. You had the moments where you were in bed, just profuse, just crying and releasing and releasing and releasing. That material, that tool would have been so great for you to look back and see those goofy pictures, see those times that you laughed and it was so amazing that it just made you have to note it. Today, she was so silly. You should have seen her up on her two little paws, and what happens is it brings the negative up, the energy, your energy back up. And so I created that material, and I also created a book because I realized it's hard for adults to process it. So I created a book for parents now to be able to help their children walk through the process of grief, but in a way that is very simplistic, a way where they can review memories and teach the child coping skills on how to deal with the loss and the sadness too. So those are
Yeah.
things that I felt like would be more handy, because sometimes visuals really can be really effective to help you through those times when you can't get someone on the phone or you just don't want to talk. You just want to go through it.
Yeah. I think that's a great way. And I just want to also add what that book of photos will do. It's funny. My mom was asking me. She said, "Why do I have so many photos of Naya compared to the other dogs I've had?" It's because we've got this technology now that we didn't have years ago. So I'll have so many pictures of Naya. And for those pet owners that might have a pet that is ill, and it's a matter of time, how I finally made my decision for Naya is I was looking at photos and thinking about how she was in the past. Signs she showed when she was happy. She'd roll on the sun herself on her back in the backyard every morning, wake up and roll on her back, and she'd shake a certain way. Well, guess what? All those things she used to do, the little quirky things, cute things, she couldn't do it anymore. She
Mhm.
just couldn't do it anymore. Going up and down
Yeah.
stairs like they normally would, I had to watch her because I didn't want her to fall. Go behind her, even she going up and would fall down, going up the stairs. I had to be with her to help her with all this. And the good thing about veterinary medicine is that we can, in a sense, see we focus on the quality of life of our pets. At least that's what it
Mhm.
should be. So with those happy memories, knowing how she was, really, much as you don't want to make that strong decision to say, you know what, let me put her, she's suffering, let me put her out of her misery. That's a decision you, as a pet parent, you have to make for your pet in their best interest, and also to prevent them from suffering further. So, but having that book that you're saying, remembering those good times, because sometimes you might be focused on the ill times and still don't know when, but if you really start focusing on that whole pet and remembering how they were and how when they were happy and signs they showed when they were really happy,
Absolutely.
that's really important. And it is something definitely what's helping me with, just the feelings now. Just put a photo, just look through photos of hers and look at my baby. She's so pretty. And,
Mm.
but there's a time and place for everyone. Unfortunately, we're all going to have to go someday. We're not ready for any of our close ones to go, but the reality is we all have to go someday. And with our pets, you want them to go hopefully with dignity and them not suffering. So um, it's a sad decision
Yeah.
to make, but you have to do it sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I I wanted to ask you, Lorena, do you, and you might have said this and I missed it, but do you have also a book or some tools that help people through the grieving process? I know you have a book for before they get to that point, but do you have something for the grieving process?
I started working on it. I have not finished that one. The
Mhm.
people that I've helped so far, I kind of help them individually. It's first, especially those first initial stages, because it's so hard. You go in and out a lot, and it's something about the human touch, right? And so those first stages of really helping you to get to where you can prepare to be self-sufficient and coping is why I haven't been in like a big hurry with that one, because I believe that it's very important to be able to talk about it, right? Like and
Okay.
really verbalize it. And like when I was listening to Dr. Bryant, excuse me, you could see the different dynamics as she spoke, each thought she was having about her photos, about the photos where she was out sunning, and then the shift in her energy when she had to talk about how she had to help her, excuse me, to do the minimal things that were like simple for her. It's very
Mhm.
important for you to be able to talk about those things and get transparent about it. It's one of the first stages of grief that really helps you to be open to receive the others because it really is a process. And so
Yeah.
I will be finishing that book though, because it will be a great resource for those who aren't ready to talk.
Yeah,
Excuse me. And they
Yeah.
can still start working on it.
yeah.
Well,
No,
I
that would be
know
great.
after this, if you could please share me a link where people can purchase your book, as well as if you've got a picture of the cover. We would love to, I would love to create a flyer and share with everyone where they can find your books to purchase them. Because it sounds like when you said it, it reminded me of, so I'm not sure if you do have kids. So I remember when I was pregnant, and there was in Barnes and Noble, there was this book for your number one. There was a book to read that helped you with each month, but then there was this book that you filled out with preparing and all kinds of memories and
Mhm.
all this other stuff in the first year and then beyond the first year. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun
Absolutely.
taking pictures and writing down memories. And then to go back, I went back with my daughter, who's 27, and let her read what I wrote in her first year. So that was fun. So that's what it reminded me of when you said that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
No, that's a good thing. Definitely a
Yeah.
good thing.
So
Hey, oh yeah,
now,
I was gonna say I wanted to share one thing too with you, Lorena and Greta. I don't know if you shared this with you, Greta, before, but a couple years back, my mom actually lost one of her sweet. Actually, she was initially my dog, but I gave her to my mom. Her name was Fancy. She was a French bulldog and Boston Terrier mix, cutest little thing. Again, my mom named her Fancy after remember Jamie Foxx show with Fancy and Jamie Foxx character, so named her Fancy. But she was a cute girl. But my mom is a beautician, and Fancy, the salon is in the basement of the house. So Fancy got to know everybody. Everybody knew her, fell in love with her. She had her favorite customers. I mean, she's just a sweet girl. And when Fancy passed, my mom was really devastated over that. And I think probably like maybe a couple weeks later, she had a memorial service for Fancy. And a lot of customers came. Pastor of the church came and said some words. It was a really big event. And, again, for the outside folks who didn't have the bond, didn't understand, probably thought she was kind of kooky lady. What is she doing? But
Right.
she was memorializing a loved one. And it was wonderful. And I think events like that, I mean, it don't have to be as grand as how we do funerals for people, but there should be some memory for your pet, something where you can
Mhm.
memorialize them, because they touch so many lives, and they matter. If you lose anybody, it matters to you and everything. So supporting my mom and supporting Fancy, they all came out, and it was a great event.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's great.
amazing. I love that she
Mhm.
was transparent enough and brave
Mhm.
enough to stand on her own, right? This is
Mhm.
my world and this is the world that we created together, and she was important to me, and I don't care what anybody from the
Mhm.
outside thinks. This is what I want to do for her, because love is
Mhm.
not what it says, but it's what it does, right? And that's on
Mhm.
every level, on every
Yeah,
level. So I'm telling you, that's an amazing story. I would love to hear
Mhm.
many, many, many more of those.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to see many more of those on social media,
Yes.
and
Right.
people sharing those memories, stuff like that. I know what I do see is, people are announcing the deaths of their pets, and then your whole social media world is giving you condolences, and that's great, and it does make you help you feel better, to be able to share their story. But that would something like what you said, to see that on social media would have been a fabulous thing, and it helps to normalize it. So,
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
but I'm glad your mom did that, because it gave her a sense of
Yeah.
closure as well.
It did.
Being able
It
to
did.
say a final goodbye.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what a brave lady. What a
Mhm.
brave
Yeah,
lady. You know how society is? Oh, she's a very brave lady. I love it.
My mom loves dogs. She loves them. I always say since I became a veterinarian, this woman just loves them. I would love to be her dog for a week. I mean, she just loves on those dogs. So, I mean, not that she don't love her children, but she just loves those dogs. It's like, my
All
goodness, she
right.
loves them so, which is great.
Listen, it's so, there's so much research behind the benefits of having pets, of having
Mhm.
something that you love. It's like, we're so limited in the human realm, right? Because you still have to deal with other personalities. You have to wonder if you're going to be rejected. You have to wonder all these things. But animals have this thing where they just love wholeheartedly. They
Mhm.
disarm you. You are not afraid to give them all of your love, because you're not expecting them to disappoint you. You're not
Mhm.
yeah,
expecting them to abandon you. And it's almost like they help us with that inner child, right? They
yeah,
seriously help us with the inner child.
Mhm.
And even to top it off, research shows, because it's been shown that people do better with their mental health who own animals. People are happier, they live longer, they're more rejuvenated when they have animals. And it's not a fluke, like it's a lot of research out there. So it makes
right,
sense how much we're really, really able to bond with them and love them like that, because they don't put up barriers to block us. And so it's
yeah,
sometimes the only thing in all of your life that you get to wholeheartedly love without even an idea, not even a thought that you're going to be disappointed by it.
Right.
right. I actually feel bad for adults who grew up without a pet. I believe pets are essential for children and their rearing. I believe that a child should have a pet as early as possible, even when they're babies. But a pet, just like adults, is integral during their formative years, because pets and animals are teaching that child compassion, teaching that child uh, um, self respect, giving that child responsibility, hopefully,
Mhm.
and teaching that child how to love. Um, I think that a child that grows up with an animal is a better human being than without growing up with an animal.
It's really it's really amazing when you talk to some people, right? So I deal with a lot of different dynamics. And I think I was sharing with Dr. Bryant about this before. Like, I grew up with animals. And when I had my first, I was an adult, right? So now I'm married. The children are little. We had the children, and so the children had to have a dog. And then we had two children, so all of a sudden we have to have two dogs because the children don't want, it was just this amazing. In our mind, we created this world with these pets. And a series of events went on. Kids got older, dogs got older, everything happened. But then there was family tragedy. And so in that time, both of my dogs had to be put down.
Mhm.
And it was at a time that was so detrimental to me to have to that I needed them even more. My children had already gone, doing whatever they wanted to do. And so then it was just me. And they were always near me, always at my feet. They could tell if I was bothered at all. They could tell if I was going to cry. It just was so amazing. And then they had to be put down. And it took me 12 years before I could own another pet. And I attempted, like I really attempted. And so I took back, I got three pets and I took all three pets back through those 12 years because I would get with that pet and it would just be too traumatic for me. I would start remembering and then I felt like it was a fair and all, excuse me, all these things. And that stage in my life helped me to realize also that some people who don't own pets don't realize that they never went through the full grieving process. And because of that, it's keeping them from being able to have that experience. It's keeping
Yeah.
them. And so, excuse me, when I finally realized there was something causing me to not be able to love the pet. And so then I went back and I started dealing with it. Listen, never deal with a therapist that don't have a therapist. So I started dealing with it,
Okay.
right? And as I dealt with it, we worked through it and I was able to adopt my multiple 8 years ago. And it's been amazing and she's amazing and I love her and I'm connected to her. But it helped me to realize, excuse me, another dynamic of grief that
Mhm.
if we don't go through it properly, it will still keep you from experiencing the full quality experience with your next pet. And so that's why it's very important that the resources here is very important because we only have one life, right? We want to live the quality life. We know that pets bring us the quality of life, but sometimes we remember only the loss and the pain that came with the loss, and we don't want to experience that again. And so then
Mhm.
we keep ourselves from living a quality life and being able to really enhance another life and them
Yeah,
enhance
Right.
ours. So I want to
yeah,
encourage people to really
yeah.
get help and deal. And it's nothing wrong with it. It's the same. Those were my pets. Those were my dogs, but those were my sons. They were two boys. And for me, I loved Coco and Bear, right? And I had to finish that process. I realized I never finished the grieving process. And so every time I would try, it would trigger my pain. I would think about how much pain I was in, and I would be so afraid. I never wanted to feel that pain again. But what I was doing was losing out on the opportunity of the companionship that I needed, the companionship that would enhance the life of an animal, to be able to have somebody to love upon them. And it's all of these other dynamics that are so much greater than that, right? And so I want to encourage everybody to really like evaluate and self-regulate. Make sure you go through the whole process so that
Right.
you can move on with life.
Definitely. Yeah, because you always hear people that will go through this experience and say, "I'm never doing it again. I can never do it again." And I don't think that's the I don't think that. Well, I understand the reason behind saying that, but I also think we're meant to love and we're meant to have that bond.
Right.
And You can share with another pet. It won't be the same. I'm, like I said, I keep saying it's my niece's dog. I have another dog with me, Puck, and I have to develop a new relationship with him. And it's not going to be the same as with Maya. And I have to recognize that. That's a totally different dog, a total different situation. And I have to just develop a new system with this dog, and it's going to be just fine. But he needs love. If I
Right.
shut off now, he's not going to benefit. And guess what? I won't benefit either. So
Right.
they need us just as much as we need them in our lives. And we got to keep moving forward. So, but yeah, I like what you're saying there.
You know what a lot of people
Absolutely.
don't realize? That animals grieve. Like people don't realize, number one, that animals have feelings, but they grieve. And, they go through their depressions and they'll come around, but they have their own grieving process, especially if the animals are close, because I don't, Lorena, you weren't on when Dr. Bryant and I were talking, but I was explaining to people that last year I had two brothers that were my heart and soul, and I had them for 16 years. Like when they came out the womb, that's when I got them, and so I was the first thing they saw when they opened their eyes, and so my favorite of the two had passed away. And so I'm grieving, but his brother, who was bonded to him, they went everywhere together, they did everything together. He was depressed and wasn't as active as he usually is. And not only that, you know how you hear about, especially with the elderly, when one
Mhm.
dies, not long later, the other one will die? That's exactly what happened. And I mean, like a month later, the brother went. And it was like out of the blue. Like with the first one, he was sick. And so I had to
Mhm.
go through. But the second one, if it just up like one morning, he was making noises and it didn't sound right. And I went to him and he died. And it was devastating
A
because
broken
it
heart.
just came out. Yeah. So pet parents, be ready for that. We can prepare ourselves for when we have to, I hate when they say put them down. I think that's such an aggressive term. But when we have to put them to sleep, uh, or if they die from a illness, you can kind of wrap your mind around it. It's hard when any other thing takes them, but besides your own grieving, please pay attention if you have other animals because they will grieve too, and pay attention to your children because they're going to grieve and may not even understand the feelings
Mhm.
they're having.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. And
I
a lot
wanted
of times children are really like, a lot of people have no idea that some of their issues later on in life comes from the fact that they never grieved as a child. And
yeah,
because we can have a tendency as adults to not think of children as human beings, that we'll grieve and never actually address the child. That
right.
we will attach ourselves to what we need to be distracted or whatever, but never think that this child was there with the baby. This child was there coddling and sleeping with the dog too, and loving up on the dog, and was responsible for feeding the dog and being family to the dog. And it's like, okay, they're children, they'll get over it, they're resilient, but they're human beings,
Right.
and they need to be able to process that information too. And also they need to be able to know how to transition from one relationship to another. And one that's a big deal for teaching children is relationship, because they don't understand the whole emotional dynamic and everything that human beings who are adults can understand. So you can break it down psychologically and emotionally and everything. But a child just loves. And
Mhm.
all it knows is I love something that disappeared. I love something that died. I love something that was here today and gone tomorrow. And then they develop distrust. And the parent doesn't understand. But they never pinpointed to grief. They never pinpointed to the fact that they never address the loss, or that the animal was there and was always there and then just wasn't there. So
Yeah.
then there's abandonment issues. They don't just come from human beings. This whole process is a love thing, right? It's a love thing. And so we have to, that's why I wanted to create the material for parents to help them and guide them through. First of all, to alert them and make them aware. Don't forget the children. They're not just going to be get over it. That's not how it works in the human mind in the bonding process. But how do I help them? Well, now let's do step one, step two, step three. Use these scenarios. Let's try to do this so that they can better understand, and then teach them the coping skills they may need, the breathing techniques they may need when they get upset, when they're going through a process when you're not around. Teach them how to calm themselves. Teach them what the self-talk should be, right? And so that's why I created the material for the parents to be able to assist the children.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just to shift gears for a second, because I want to be cognizant of, the professionals that have to deal with pet death all the time. The veterinarians, the vet techs, everybody in the office, because I would imagine your pet's veterinarian should, just like your pediatrician or family doctor, should get to know you. So they should get to know the pet. And, I'm going to think that when they have to put down, your pet, this has some kind of effect on them too. But it's like, they gotta do it and then move on to the next client. And so I wanted to bring up this question. Let's see.
Yeah, good,
What
good.
are some warning signs they should look out for, and how can veterinarians take proactive steps to address these challenges?
Before you answer that, Lorena, let me just add a little something there, because again, me being a veterinarian, I do part-time work with Banfield, and I work periodically on Sundays, so a lot of the clients I don't see the same clients, but for a good while, over months ago, it seemed like every single Sunday that I worked, I had a euthanasia to do. And so I didn't have the bond with the pet or the pet owner, but I still tried to provide the much compassion I could and everything to make the situation, just calm everyone with the situation. Always for the best interest for the pet. Yeah, they were suffering, and that's why we went forward with euthanasia and everything. And it touched me, but you know what? This whole incident put me on the opposite side of I'm not a pet owner with a pet. And I didn't mention earlier, lap of love. If folks don't know about lap of love, it's a service where the veterinarians will come and euthanize your pet in your home. I did that because Naya would get nervous and stressed whenever I take her to the veterinary hospital. And I wanted her to be comfortable being home. So I had the service done there at my home. But as a veterinarian moving forward, doing roles, doing euthanasias, I think I'm going to see it probably a lot differently now. I mean, I feel I was compassionate then. I don't know how I'll be. I don't know. Look, there's multiple times, and I was crying, of course, when Naya was euthanized. I see pet owners crying in front of me, and I felt empathy, but I wasn't crying. But I probably will cry with them the next time, because I'll be releasing some of that there. And it makes me think back to years and years ago, a veterinarian that we went to when I was a child. We were euthanizing one of our dogs. His name was Bingo. And he had he was Bingo's veterinarian. So when he was euthanized, the veterinarian was crying. and everything. So I'm probably will be releasing more tears. I probably will future moving forward and everything. But the compassion, the what, and I guess as veterinarians and veterinary professionals, there's certain environments where it would be awful and for them, and there would be steps needed to kind of get over this. You think about it, Greta, think about shelter medicine and stuff like that. Being in shelters, sometimes they have to euthanize a lot of pets in those environments, and some of them are healthy, so I'm sure it's harder there. But I'm sorry, I went through all that
Yeah.
just to share some things about myself. But Lorena, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that you guys have a lot already. You do, right? Just in general. And I think having a resource like the
Mm-hmm.
one that I'm creating is going to be really great for you guys to have a place to send them, right? So, yeah, you do the initial and you have to be there, but it's very important for your stability here to still stay balanced with it all. And so, be like you said, you know that it's going to be different. It's because of the experience you've had, which means
Mm-hmm.
that you're vulnerable. It means that you're going to be triggered, right? That's what that
Mm-hmm.
is. And so, in order for you to really stay stable and keep still your keep your compassion up and be able to do it without being drained all the time is to have on hand the resources. Like we have a great resource here, and they're there to help you with your process of grieving. We know that you love your pet. We're here for you. We feel for you. This is something that we want to do for you is refer you over to them so that you can get the assistance that you need. Because work life balance is very important. That's one of my specialties. And I am committed to working with the professional because the professional is a servicer all the time. But who's helping the professional? Who's supporting the professional? Who's looking out for the professional? Because you're still a human being. Everyone has a certain capacity, right? And as you have experiences like you have, right? Now you've had the experience, but you're still in the field and you don't know what's going to happen next. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in order to keep a stable mentality, a stable balance, a sense of strength to be able to do what's important, which is what's best for the animal, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what it is, right? You have to stay in a realm of not allowing the situation to pull you too much emotionally. And that's a very difficult place, right? And so having a resource that you can send them to, a place that you can trust, that you know that they're going to be taken care of, and to be able to have that general conversation, but put yourself in a limited time with the person. You have to. You have to. You do. You have to limit it and have whatever you're going to do, have the resources available to them, maybe a packet already made, whatever, hand it to them, talk to them, and move on. Because if you don't, what happens is a lot of people get burned out. And we're not just talking about general work here, we're talking about people who are putting down animals, people who are having to euthanize animals, people who are looking at the heart hurt, who are in touch with the emotions of these people, and all this energy is traveling in that moment. And all of the sadness and all those things is bound to trigger you, but it's also bound to drain you. And you still have a job to do because the job that you do is very important. And people need you, but not if you're so tired, not if you're so
Mm-hmm.
drained emotionally. You're not going to be able to do it. And then it's no benefit to anyone. And so finding balance and work-life balance is very important for the profession. And it can seem a certain, kind of cold. People are saying, well, she was very cold or whatever. You can't really focus on any of that because they're in a state where they're needing something. That's why it's very important to refer them. They're in a state where they're needing more than you are there to give. You're not there to give them that. right? And
Yeah.
so once you do what you have to do as a professional, as a service professional, you have to be able to move on. Well, you can do that more confidently if you have a resource, you know that you've given them away to get the help that they need. And then that pullback, because you will see, like I've talked to some other professionals who will say, the pet owner will keep showing up at the office crying, will do different things to pull on the staff. There's a work-life balance that has to be kept, guidelines and boundaries that have to be kept. And the person's just dealing with their emotions. That's what they're dealing with. You never know what kind of personality type they are. You never know what they may be dealing with on in other areas also. And so having boundaries as a professional, keeping those boundaries and working in that capacity is very important for you to continue to be effective and yet still feel like you're being productive and you still have a quality of life.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Absolutely. I know I've made um, it. I've made so many banners to help guide our conversation, and so I love when people naturally flow with everything you're going to say, and it's so hard to stick the banners up there when you're at that subject. So
Oh, it's
I
perfect.
I didn't put a lot of them up there, but everything that we discussed was so good, and I believe so needed.
Yeah.
I know we're getting towards the end of our hour, but I want to make sure we can let people know how to get to you. But first, I know that you have a wellness retreat coming up in 2025. So please tell us more about that. And, if people, what I would like to say is, especially people in their wellness journey, an event like this is really, really good. It relaxes your soul, and you're able to unpack some things that you may not have had the time to do before, or maybe you didn't know how to do it before. So please tell us about your wellness retreat in October 2025.
Yes, guys, I'm so excited about that. Listen, it's going to be our first wellness retreat, and I am collaborating, Prestige is collaborating with the Black Professional Business Network. And what we're going to do is a work life balance wellness retreat. Again, I am like so sold out to helping the leaders because no
Yeah.
one supports the leaders. And so this is for leaders. This is so that professionals can come. We're going to do some work life balance. We're going to do 2 work life balance activities. We're going to do a mixer where we can meet each other. We're going to leave it for free time. We have an excursion included in there, one excursion, but also the spa is available. You're going to be able to pamper yourself. You're going to be able to chill, whatever it is you want to do. But we're going to talk about work-life balance and how important it is to make sure that our mental health stays where it needs to be so that we can be effective in what we've chosen to do in our life. And a lot of times, as entrepreneurs, we have no balance at all because entrepreneurs, we don't work, we don't eat. And so what happens is a lot of times it knocks off a lot. It knocks off our ability to have relationships. It knocks off the relationships that we have. If we're not on the same level, it knocks off our relationship with our children. We have to find a balance in how to do what we do and meet the needs, supply and demand, but also meet our personal needs, make sure that we're living a quality life and make sure that we're practicing self-care. And so the wellness retreat is really about that, coming out, spending time with you, for you, with us, bonding with other like-minded professionals, networking, making type of connections if you want to, whatever it is you want. But we want to bring a moment of wellness for you. And it's like 5 days, I think it is 5 days, out in Mexico, and it's an all-inclusive trip. So the food is included, everything is included, except your airfare. And so we want you guys to come out. We want to be able to love upon each other as professionals. We want to be able to encourage and inspire each other for our futures and come together and form collaboratives if we need to continue to grow in our areas. But we wanted to be able to just give the professional a break. So
Yeah.
you guys have to come out and join us.
What part of
So
Mexico? What part of Mexico?
Cancun, Mexico.
Ooh, I've never been to Cancun. Still
Yes, and
wanting
it's
to go.
oh, it's so beautiful. And I'll send the link, and if anybody
Yeah,
wants to join, yes, it's already set up. Everything is set up. I mean, just get it.
just
The
need to get
deposit
there,
is
right?
$100. We made it very small, and you just
Okay.
have to have it paid up by 30 days before the trip. And that's October 2025. So you have almost a whole year.
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
5 days in Mexico. Are we on the beach or in the woods?
You're in the beach, baby. We're
Okay,
doing the doggone thing.
so we're on the beach in Mexico at a
All
wellness
inclusive.
retreat where we're able to learn more about work-life balance. And this
Absolutely.
is for not only entrepreneurs, but business professionals,
Hmm.
anybody else, maybe working moms, or how about anybody with who's dealing with a work-life balance?
Anybody dealing with the work-life balance? Anybody?
Ex-
Yes. And we're not consuming. That's what we want. We want balance. We're giving you balance. So we're only doing a few activities, and the rest of the time you're free to do whatever you want to do. And so, really enjoy your vacation.
Yeah. Are you
yeah.
teaching tools to how to deal with work-life balance? What are some of the sessions about?
We're going to do mindfulness, how to deal, like how to deal in those times, the mindfulness, how do we cope, and what are the skills that we can use, and how do we really strategize an event, whereas we still stay in control, we're still professional in it, and yet it does not overwhelm us and drain us in the end. How do we give out responsibilities? That's a big thing. Entrepreneurs want to do everything, we want to do every part of it, but we have to learn how to negotiate with people, when we also have to learn how to delegate. And so it's step by step, like things that we don't really think about, right, that we
Yeah.
really need to deal with, and it'll take a lot of pressure off of us, and it'll take a lot of time back that you can spend with your children, time back that you can spend with your wife, with your husband, with your significant other, or even with your pet, right? Like it's so beautiful, but we just have to find those steps. We're going to talk about very simple things, but they're going to enhance your life and really change the dynamic of how you're operating as an entrepreneur or a professional in any way, where you can get your time back. Rich people have money, but wealthy people have time.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I know you don't have a website. Do you have a website coming?
We have a website coming, but if anybody wants to reach me, they can totally reach me on like Instagram. It's under Prestige Wellness Network. And also I am on Facebook, Lorena Jefferson. They can DM me. Anybody can DM me and I will answer them back. Yeah, we're just working on some stuff. We're revamping a lot of things for 2025. So the website will be up. But right now, they can totally reach out to me on social media.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Dr. Bryant, is there any last minute words that you want to say? We went over by 4 minutes, but anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
I'm thankful you're here. You probably can't see me, but my eyes are kind of teary. But I'm thankful
Oh,
you are here to be able to discuss these topics and just to be able to share and be more transparent about the experience. I'm hoping what we shared today and what you shared will definitely help others that are going through this process or have been through this process, and to realize also, again, it takes time to grieve. And
Yes,
as you said, you have to grieve before you move on. And maybe that's what a lot of folks need as far as just to get over a pet or even a loved one sometimes. So,
absolutely.
yeah, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You girls are awesome.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Well,
You're
I want
welcome.
to thank I want to thank the people who watched this special episode of Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. We just felt it was really important to go a little bit off the beaten path and share something that is common for all pet parents. And we hope that you find a lot of great information out of this conversation. Please reach out to Lorena Jefferson. So her website is coming, but in the meantime, you can find her on Instagram and Facebook under Prestige Wellness Network, and on LinkedIn, you can find her under her name, Lorena Jefferson. And again, we want to thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again at the next Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. So thank you, everyone.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Yep, thank you.
Blessings.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.